4 summers ago, I was hiking with a group of families and was talking with a priest buddy of mine. He was asking me, how did the past year of seminary go? It had been my first year in a new seminary. I told him, overall, I think it went pretty well. Classes went fine, made some new friends, kept my bearings, my feet on the ground. I said, sometimes I maybe feel a little insecure, a little challenged because the guys I'm with, man, they're just super talented. I thought my ability with languages was pretty decent, but it seems like some of my brothers can speak Spanish, Italian, French just in their sleep. I thought that I was pretty intelligent, but in class, goodness, some of the answers my brothers give are just brilliant. And I thought, well, I'm a pretty prayerful guy. I like to pray. Maybe that's my thing. Well, then I look at other people and see the depth of their prayer life. I'm like, wow, that's really beautiful. Goodness. And so, expecting some words of comfort from my friend, he looks at me and says, yeah, there's always someone who's better than you at the seminary. I was like, ouch, Father. But I'm grateful for that response in hindsight because it called me back to something which is fundamental to the Christian life and to our readings today: humility. Humility is nonetheless a virtue that's not super extolled in our culture today, but it brings us back to the fundamental reality of who we are, being rooted in our identity as beloved sons and daughters of God, as opposed to looking for other things to be what gives us meaning and purpose. Needless to say, I think we look at our culture today, and humility is one of those virtues which isn't like in flashing lights. More so sayings like, I have to be number one, I'll do whatever it takes to succeed. If you're not first, you're last. That tends to be kind of the mantra of our world today. And so why does Jesus call us to humility? Why does he say, don't look for the most prestigious place at the banquet table? I propose that he's doing so that he can free us from ourselves in order to make space for the gift which is him, to make space for the gift of Jesus, and of being freed from ourselves to be able to make a generous gift of self to others. Humility oftentimes is a very misunderstood virtue. Oftentimes we might think of humility as like self-deprecation, saying I'm really like not good at anything, or I'm not that talented, or I'm bad. Or maybe not acknowledging a gift that the Lord has given us. Maybe if you're a very good singer, saying, I'm not really that great of a singer. Well, actually, you might be. Glorify God with that. Or like being excessively deferent to others at the expense of ourselves, forgetting that we're made in God's image and likeness and have an inherent dignity. But rather, humility, the heart of the matter, is recognizing who we are and who we are not. Recognizing that we're made in God's image and likeness and are good, but we're not God. It's not all about us. And more so, recognizing that humility is meant to help us to not pursue things which are beyond us, beyond our capacities, not to shame us, but to keep us small in a good way, so as to be able to receive the gift of Jesus and to be able to truly be who we are as beloved sons and daughters of God. Needless to say, humility is hard. It's not something that we just choose to do by ourselves. In a lot of ways, it kind of goes against our nature. And oftentimes, and you can probably think to your own life, they're painful memories of humiliations. Perhaps you were really confident about an answer in class, raised your hand, and just were shot down. You just were completely off the mark. Or perhaps you were passed up for that promotion at work and are thinking, but I worked so hard, I really thought I could do this. Goodness, why didn't this come through? Oftentimes there might be an insecurity which is at play. Perhaps, I'm not very good at this particular skill, so what's my response going to be? I'm going to put all of my energy into being the best at this skill so I don't get hurt. Or perhaps, I need to be associated with this group of people, the beautiful people, the popular people, what have you. And then when I'm in that group, then I can feel safe and known. Or perhaps, if I get that promotion at work or that award, then I can have a sense of purpose to my life. When I'm invited to the higher place of the table, then I've made it. But Jesus is saying no to this way of thinking. He's telling the Pharisees, no, don't find your security in honors and riches and fancy banquet tables. But remember the key of the matter. Remember that Jesus, though he was rich, became poor for our sake in his incarnation. Jesus, who was God, he came down from heaven to become like us. He was hungry, he was thirsty, he was tired, he was poor. He knew our condition because he wanted to be that close to us. That true condescension of humility in the deepest sense, to show us that it's okay to be little, it's okay to be small, to be able to receive the great gift of Christ himself. He tells us this to disarm us, so that we don't have to keep our defenses up and be caught up within ourselves, but rather to be able to open ourselves up to make space for the gift of Jesus and receive that fullness of treasure. He doesn't tell us to not seek places of honor or success, not because he doesn't want us to be successful at things. He's not saying, don't be well at certain things, but why do you want to succeed? Is it for me, for my glory? Is it to serve your brothers and sisters? Or is it like for your own ego, for your own head? So if being well known doesn't lead us closer to God and to give of ourselves to others, we can't take that to heaven with us. It's not profiting our eternal salvation. If, being well known or, having a particular honor leads us to close in on ourselves or constantly seek the next thing to fulfill, it's not profiting us. It's simply not worth it. It's key to remember, too, that humiliations are not meant to knock us down and, quote, keep us in our place out of a place of fear. Jesus isn't saying, don't look for the high place of the banquet table because you're not worth it or you're bad. No, but he's saying, I want to make space for the gift of me in you. And the saints speak about humility and how it actually attracts God to us. When a soul is empty, when a soul has their hands open and outward, it makes space to be able to receive the gift of God. One of my favorite books, I Believe in Love. It's a good spiritual book based on the teachings of Saint Therese, written by this French priest. And there was this beautiful passage that I want to read with you all that I think sums up how humility attracts God to us and makes space for him in our lives. This priest, Father Delbe, says, humility is an abyss which attracts torrents of graces, which attracts Jesus himself into a soul. He was not able to resist the humility of the prodigal son, the good thief, or the woman of Canaan. The vacuum which humiliation makes in us, when we receive it rightly, is an emptiness which attracts God irresistibly. He bends over the soul who loves its littleness and nothingness. He bends over it with an unspeakable love. In other words, humiliations, and really more so humility as the virtue, is not meant to put us down, but create that space for Jesus to come in, that vacuum which attracts the life of Christ in us, to where he can take up residence, open us up to him and to others, and truly become more like him. A helpful aid for growing in humility, and also when we're humiliated ourselves, is to look at the cross. Because again, it shows Jesus' love for us, that though he was rich, he became poor for our sake. But also, Jesus was humiliated. Jesus was spat upon. Jesus was abandoned by his friends, but he did so to make that space for God and us to reconcile us to himself so that we might become like him. Saint Therese, she says, let's run away from everything that glitters and let's love our littleness. Let us love to feel nothing. That's deep. That's hard. Then we shall be poor in spirit, and Jesus will come seeking us, however far away we are. He will transform us into flames of love. And that's what humility does. It transforms us. It draws us out of ourselves. It draws us closer to God. It opens ourselves up to others, especially to the poor and those on the margins, and ultimately gives us true freedom and true happiness. It's the work of a lifetime, and so don't be discouraged when you find yourself recognizing pride. I challenge myself big time by these readings today. But again, we're called to not close in ourselves, but open ourselves up to the gift of God and his love. And remembering, again, that Jesus gives us this model of humility. He wouldn't, invite us into something that he himself didn't do before us. This inspires confidence that we can surrender, we can disarm ourselves and trust and receive the full gift of his love, the gift of his grace that he offers us, most especially in the Eucharist. Again, God coming to us in a tiny host, giving us his fullness every day. What a gift that is. And so as we approach the Eucharist this morning, let us go with confidence And again, not seeking the place of honor in this world, but the place of honor here at this table, where Jesus gives his fullness to us, which inspires confidence and trust, trusting that we will be with him fully in this life and in the life to come.